Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 2018 Danbury Westerners Celebrity Breakfast. As you know, our guest this year is the great Chris Chambliss of New York Yankees fame. We appreciate you all being on hand this year, and because we, as always, will be constricted for time, we want to get the program moving, and I ask you to please pay attention as we welcome the President Emeritus of the Danbury Westerners, Mr. Paul Schaefer.
Awesome. Well, thank you all for coming to, again, this morning's Celebrity Breakfast. I'm once again humbled to represent our all-volunteer board of directors as we proudly present another exciting summer of Danbury Westerners baseball. And we have a fabulous, fabulous program today. We have our 2018 Michael Siri Award recipient, Andrea Gartner. And we have a gentleman who has a place in Yankee history with Chris Chambliss here today. As many of you know, this is our annual event to raise much-needed funds for the Westerners as we start our 2018 season, our 24th in the NECBL. And as you know, we are also the oldest team in the NECBL. This is really a true reflection of the folks who volunteer their time to bring Danbury, to Danbury exciting collegiate summer baseball. And at this time, I would actually like the board of directors and our volunteers to stand for a minute. Thank you. Okay, now that I've got you really engaged, this is a great time to remind you of these nice tip envelopes on each of the tables. We made them big this year, okay? So you can fill them up. And if you made a nice contribution here, we'd be much appreciated. I want to thank our table sponsors. Many of you have been here nearly every year, certainly while I've been involved with the Westerners. Service groups like Kiwanis Club of Danbury, the Danbury Rotary, Danbury Old Timers, and the Danbury Exchange Club. Hold on. Youth baseball teams like Danbury, Bethel, New Milford, and Brookfield. We have longtime supporters, businesses, Union Savings Bank, Arcani Painting, Mitchell Oil, Atlantic Restaurant, Danbury High School Athletic Department, and we have friends in the community like Family and Children's Aid and Bill Poulin and the Jimmy Fund. So we are very much appreciative of your continued support. Every year, I make it a point to discuss our host family program. I'm going to be brief, but I'm also not going to disappoint you about this. Our host families are quite simply the backbone of what we have here in Danbury. Without their support and generosity, there is no Danbury Westerners baseball. Thank you to those who are new to our organization or those who have been hosting ball players for some of the past several summers. These folks open their homes every summer for 1, 2, sometimes 3, and I believe sometimes even 4 boys to spend their summers away from the ballpark. It gives both the ball players and their parents great comfort knowing that they have a nurturing environment as they spend their summer away from their homes. We're always looking for volunteers. You can talk to me, you can talk to Shelley Pitzer if you're interested in learning more. This season, we will also continue to honor many charities, not-for-profit, service organizations, and individuals and businesses who help make Danbury and all of Western Connecticut an outstanding community. And once again, the Westerners will be making numerous appearances this summer at local restaurants, public schools, senior centers, and public libraries. We've donated over 4,000 tickets so far to local libraries and schools in support of our reading initiatives. You can see us at Panera Bread in Brookfield on June 12th. We'll be there from 4 to 8. And yet, somehow, the players here have time to play 44 games in 8 weeks. And you guys do the math here. It's a demanding schedule for these young men, but we're fortunate to have a tremendous coaching staff to lead them. Our manager, again, is Josh Parrow. Where are you, Josh? Yeah. And the rest of our staff includes our hitting coach, Richie Bettis, a great man who's back for his 4th year as hitting coach. We have our new pitching coach, TJ Watkins, and we have 2 assistant coaches, both former Westerners, Pat O'Neill and Ian Ratchford. We're glad to have you guys here. And I'm really proud to stand up here this morning representing all of you who worked tirelessly and made the Danbury Westerners a nationally recognized program where young men vied to play in our great city. Players understand it's a privilege to play in this league and for the Westerners. We are proud of our past. 21 former Westerners have reached the show. We have several dozen playing professionally this year. Many former Westerners are doing well. And remember these names, these are tomorrow's stars. Jake Stinnett, Mike Ford, Daniel Spignola, Brandon Bonilla, the list goes on and on. We had 7 Westerners taken in the MLB draft this year, including a second-round selection, JoJo Gray. That makes 164 in total who've been selected in the draft. And since we've had over 600 people play for the Westerners, that's 1 every 4 Westerners has been selected in the MLB draft. That's really something about the program we have here. Prior players will tell you that playing for Danbury, being seen by scouts, makes a tremendous impact in getting recognized, and the fans and the community are the beneficiaries. I would be remiss if I did not address that the Westerners family suffered some significant losses this season. Longtime board members Tom Dyer and Bill Bay passed away. The NECBL's co-founder, Joe Constantino, passed away in January. His vision, along with George Foster, to bring summer collegiate baseball to New England is the reason why I am standing here today and why these ball players are here today. In addition, we mourn the passing of 2 men instrumental to our franchise. Regulars at our breakfast, former Michael Siri Award recipients, and friends to many of you, our former general manager, Terry Whalen, and our former president and chief operating officer, Mike Malone. During the season, we're honoring these folks. All teams in the NECBL will have co-founder Joe Constantino's initials embroidered on their cap. All Danbury Westerners home uniforms have a patch remembering Mike, and every Westerners home game, Terry's initials will be imprinted on the pitching mound. We also have banners recognizing their truly extraordinary contributions that are hanged at Rogers Park. I hope you all come by and see them. In conclusion, I hope you, the community, continues to appreciate what the Danbury Westerners represent. The obvious is that you get to see highly competitive, yet affordable amateur baseball with the stars of tomorrow. I get to be the spokesman today for you, but one person doesn't do this alone. And I'm grateful for all the support that the Westerners have, the people who give their time, their talents to showcase this unique and wonderful product we bring to the region. I also want to thank our summer interns. They are invaluable in what we do as well. Our program continues to thrive, and I'm confident we have the leadership, talent, desire, and support of the community to succeed this season as we bring home the 2018 NECBL Championship to Danbury. Thank you very much. Enjoy the program.
Folks, before we get the breakfast going, just one quick thing. There have been some people here over the years who have been outstanding speakers and have contributed and helped the Westerners by their appearances here, and I'd like you to keep them in your thoughts today. Guys who are fighting the good fight and guys who are proof that the dreaded disease, Alzheimer's, certainly doesn't know anybody's economic background or anybody's status. It affects everyone from top to bottom. If you can, keep in your thoughts today our good friend Buddy Harrelson, the former New York Met, and Jim Bouton, the Bulldog, who are fighting the battle each and every day along with their families. And also like you to keep in your thoughts a gentleman who figured prominently in Chris Chambliss coming to the New York Yankees, because he was part of the trade. He got sent from the Bronx to Cleveland, and a guy who became a fantastic internet baseball historian. But he too fights the battle against Alzheimer's every day, and that's Fritz Peterson. If you can, keep those people in your thoughts today. We ask that you enjoy the breakfast, and we're going to start our program promptly after you gobble down. All right, ladies and gentlemen, if we can have everybody return to their seats, and if we can ask you to be seated, and if we can have your attention, please, as we continue with the next portion of our program here. First and foremost, how about a very nice hand for the fine staff and folks at the Amber Room for their marvelous service today. Before we introduce the team, I'd like to introduce the mayor of the finest city and the finest state and the finest country in all the world, the mayor of Danbury, Mark Boughton.
Thanks, Bart, and you are the finest broadcaster at the finest radio station that I've ever heard in this fine world that we all live. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you. It's my honor and privilege to once again be here for the Danbury Westerners. We are so proud of this team and all that they've accomplished and all that they will accomplish this season. And certainly what the backbone of this organization really is the volunteers that are here today. So today I want to give a special thank you and congratulations to all of the volunteers that work for the Westerners. We're going to double your salary this year and give you a nice pat on the back. But it does make a huge difference, and I know that the players, that the community, and everybody around Danbury appreciate the hard work you do. So let's give our volunteers a round of applause. I also want to welcome and thank our favorite Yankee, Chris Chambliss, for being here. We're honored to have you here, sir. And finally, I just want to thank all of our elected officials that are here today. There are a lot from different, from state legislature, from local city council to other first selectmen in the area. So if you're a elected official in the greater Danbury area, please stand and be recognized, and let's give them a round of applause too. With that, I'm going to turn it back over to Bart, fine broadcaster, and we are excited to hear what Chris has to say today. And if you have a moment, we need you to do a couple things. Write a check, help out the Westerners, it's really important. And secondly, we need you to do and get involved in the team itself. Go to a game, go back there, make a donation to the silent auction, whatever that you can do, whatever piece that you can do would be huge, and we really like to see you down at Rogers Park this year. God bless you, and God bless America. Thank you.
All right, we're going to introduce the team, which will be playing tonight, by the way, 6:30 at Rogers Park against the Ocean State Waves, who went to extra innings and lost last night, so they should be very tired for this evening's matchup with the Westerners. For time's sake, I'm going to introduce the team. I will ask the players to stand at whatever tables they may be at. They're at some guest tables and spread around a little bit. We'll ask them to stand at the tables and stay standing until we're finished announcing the entire team. Then a thunderous round of applause. Let's see how this goes. First, our pitchers. A Danbury native out of Sacred Heart, number 53, Jackson Alnum. Number 34 from Henderson, Nevada and Colorado Mesa University, Nick Cardinale. From Shelton and Fordham University, number 20, Michael Cowell. From Sherman and Central Connecticut State, number 45, Michael DeLeese. From Littleton, Colorado and Colorado Mesa University, number 33, Taylor Dye. From New Canaan and Lafayette College, number 37, David Giusti. From Farmington and Princeton University, number 35, Andrew Nazo. From Stanford and Fairfield U, number 36, Peter Horn. From Bellefontaine, Ohio and Dayton University, number 25, Tyler Jones. From Shelton and Fairfield U, number 32, Trey McLaughlin. And from Eastchester, New York, and Binghamton U, number 6, Greg Satriali. And number 43 from Hurley, New York, and Siena College, number 43, Avery Short. We move on to our catchers. And number 13 from Hollywood, Florida, and Middle Tennessee State, Aaron Antonini. And from Wallingford and the University of Connecticut, number 2, Paul Gazzo. We shift to our infielders. From Fort Mitchell, Kentucky, and the University of Kentucky, number 24, Braden Combs. From Darien and Sacred Heart U, number 7, Jake Frasca. From Middletown, Delaware, and the University of Kentucky, number 14, Spencer Harbert. From Norwalk and Georgetown University, number 12, Eddie McCabe. From Miami, Florida, and the University of Miami, number 3, Tyler Page. And our outfielders. From Center Mortgages, New York, and Binghamton, number 31, Daniel Franchi. From Shelton and Central Connecticut State, number 5, Chris Canios. From Wilton and Davidson, number 11, Justin Lebeck. From Pittsburgh and the University of Pittsburgh, number 1, Nico Popa. And from Harwich, Mass. And Maine, the University of Maine at Orono, number 28, Colin Ridley. Some folks could not be here today, but will be back with the Westerners and on the bench. Pitcher number 41 out of Fairfield U, Eli Oliphant, who returns to the team. Catcher number 29, Sean Buckout from West Nyack, New York, and Stony Brook U. Vincent Vacone from Philadelphia, PA, and the University of Delaware, number 26, an infielder with the squad. And also out of Northeastern U, Brian Rodriguez out of Yonkers, New York, a pitcher with the squad. And the coaching staff. One guy could not be here today because he's busy teaching and comes from a long line of just most excellent Danburyans. Assistant coach Ian Ratchford. But on hand here today, head coach Richie Bennis. Assistant coach Pat O'Neill. And pitching coach TJ Watkins, and the skipper Josh Parrow. Ladies and gentlemen, the 2018 Danbury Westerners. Thank you, gentlemen, and again, they'll be at Rogers Park tonight at 6:30 against Ocean State. At this time, I want to ask Sue Malone to make her way to the podium. If Sue would make her way to the podium. We're going to have the presentation of this year's Michael R. Siri Award, Tweezer, a legend and a great supporter of the Westerners and sports in general in Greater Danbury. Sue and Matt Malone.
And Katie. First of all, I just want to say that Mike loved the Westerners, and Mike loved baseball. And this community is so amazing to support these players. The players, you guys are very lucky. You've got the support of the community, the families, the volunteers, and my husband, who passed away recently, he usually does this speaking. I'm not the the person that is the speaker in the family. So So Mike last year received the Sari Award, and so this year we wanted to continue the tradition. And this year its award goes to Andrea Gartner. She's a lifelong resident of the greater Danbury area, and she resides in downtown Danbury. She's passionate about making downtown Danbury the most appealing place for all to spend their time and spend their money and talents. From 2007 to 2015, she was the executive director of City Center Danbury. She works with Mike in helping to support the town of Danbury. Currently, she's the vice president of the Cultural Alliance of Western Connecticut and the board member of the Friends of the Danbury Museum and Historical Society. She serves on the Regional Advisory Council at Naugatuck Valley Community Center and the Greater Danbury Area Women's Business Council and the Housatonic Habitat for Humanity. So she's on a lot of boards. She's also a founding coordinator for the Danbury Farmers Market, which is doing fabulously, and a former member of the Danbury Main Street Partnership. And she's certainly a person who deserves this award, the Sari Award, for supporting the community. So if Andrea would like to come up. Thank you.
Thank you. And this is Charlie, right?
Yeah.
So thank you, everyone, for coming out and supporting the Westerners. I feel awkward being up here. It's kind of out of place to be accepting this award. And I kind of felt that I would be nervous. And I realized why I feel so funny about it, because you win an award. I didn't enter a contest with the idea of competing against others to try to get a prize. But after getting a call from Paul Schaefer, I started thinking, wow, what if there were a contest? The Danbury Westerners is, after all, a sporting organization. So what if this Michael Siri Award was a contest, and every year the good citizens of Greater Danbury competed against one another to be the good citizen of Greater Danbury? That would really be a great contest. Who could raise the most money? Who could mentor the most promising youth? Who could advocate the loudest, bring the most people together for the best cause? And I thought, wow, wouldn't Tweezer just have loved that? And wouldn't that have brought a sparkle to his eye? It's an honor to receive his namesake award. I knew Tweezer not as well as I would have liked to. Our paths crossed socially and civically, mostly through his speaking events and people we knew in common. What I do remember is that he was such a troublemaker, but always making the best kind of trouble, and always so nice about the trouble he made. And he had a way of sounding nice, even when he was saying something not so nice. And all the good he did. He was such a gentleman and such a gentle man. And the world works in strange ways. Just a few days before I got the call from Paul Schaefer about being nominated for this award, I had been talking to some guests at my coffee and wine cafe in downtown Danbury called Pour Me. It was a mom, and she was a regular, and she was there with her grown daughter and her grandson, her new grandson, and a visiting niece. And they all had ties to Danbury. So we got to talking, and it didn't take long for me to find out that I was actually talking to two of Tweezer's granddaughters, his daughter-in-law, and I met his great-grandson. We each had our own recollections of what a great man who, even after years of his passing, just talking about him can bring a smile to people's faces with his reminiscence. He was involved, devoted, and tireless, not just with his community, but also with his family. So, yeah, I'm very happy to accept this award and aspire to be like Michael Siri, or aspire to be like any of the good citizens and the extraordinary team players that the Danbury Westerners have in their orbit. I was first introduced to this collegiate team while working at City Center Danbury. Joe Constantino, who I knew from my Ridgefield Playhouse years, told me, because that's what Joe did, he kind of told you things. He said, you should get involved. And I didn't know anything about the Danbury Westerners, but I was invited and encouraged by Mike Malone and Terry Whalen to be part of a team that started a new fundraiser for the organization. That was the start of the Chilly Winter Warm-Up almost 10 years ago, which originated downtown and grew in size to now be hosted every year at the Ice Arena. Not the Ice Arena, the Sports Dome. Joe, Terry, and Mike were the patriarchy and the Hall of Famers of the Danbury Westerners, and I'd be remiss not to mention what an honor and a pleasure it was to get to know them and work with them to the benefit of this organization, and really sincerely may their memory be eternal. If anything, they taught me that it's so important to show up. How are we to achieve great things in our community if we don't show up? And so this is my plea to everyone when it comes to the Westerners. Keep showing up. You're all here this morning. I know that you know we have a gem of an organization in our community. The team is part of an amazing network of collegiate sports opportunity provided by the league that take ball players from around the country and grinds them through a 2-month season. And this season is a grind. These young men are on the move. If it's not home game, it's an away game. If it's not a game, they're showing up at community outreach events and programs. And in between, there's always training to do. And at the very best, the program results in producing professional ball players, 21 Westerners so far in the big league. And at the very least, it teaches dedication, community involvement, and sportsmanship. And to young men who are playing their best. And we in the Greater Danbury get to host them every year. They play down at Rogers Park, so get out and see a game or 2 or 3 this June and July. Introduce a youngster or an oldster to the first-rate collegiate baseball. It's a great American summer fun that won't bust the bank. So sincerely, what an honor to receive this award. I thank you very much.
Congratulations to Andrea, and we really appreciate the Malone family being on hand here today. Already miss Mikey. He handed me a soda pop at the ballpark, and just like I miss Terry Whalen inviting me to the highest seat in the bleachers to hang out with him and watch the game, and gonna miss Big Joe as well, Mr. C, Mr. Cosentino, just for his booming voice alone at the ballpark and wherever. Certainly someone who we miss on the ball field because of his great dedication and for what he did for the New York Yankees. Hard to believe, 78 is 40 years. Oh, Chris, you were only, what, like 6 or 7 then when you were smacking it out of the park? Oh, my. Well, certainly our guest speaker here today, not just an outstanding ball player who the Yanks were fortunate enough to swindle away from the Cleveland Indians, who used to make a lot of bad trades back in the day. Not so much now, but back in the day. And the Pinstripes ended up with Chris Chambliss, and everybody said, well, they soon found out what Chris Chambliss could do. And man, did he do it. And not only an expert player, but someone who became an outstanding coach as well and continues to contribute today. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Chris Chambliss.
Thank you so much. It's my pleasure to be here. It's always fun to come back to New York. As you know, I played here 6 years, and I played for the Atlanta Braves for 8 years after that. And I like to go over a little bit about my life, because I like to talk to these young men who, that was said before, how lucky you are to have a community like this to support what you do in sports and especially baseball, and playing a game that you love, and then have all that support to allow you to play, because not every kid has that that chance to do that. Because I played sports all my life. I've been playing baseball since I was 5 years old, but I played football in college for 2 years. And so I played a lot of different sports as well as baseball. I played football, basketball, baseball for 4 years in high school. And sports has just been a tremendous part of my life, and it's just a wonderful thing to see a community that supports you. And when you play, you have a great uniform, you got host families. It's just a tremendous opportunity, and I'm glad to see you're taking advantage of it, and just remember what it means, because it means a lot. Not everybody makes it to the big leagues, but sports is something that brings a lot of character to you, and it helps out in whatever vocation you end up being in. Sports is something that just teaches you teamwork, teaches you community spirit, and it's just a wonderful thing. So I'm happy about and really impressed about the support that you get from your community. I'm from a lot of places. I have been in New York, as you know. New York is from my baseball career, but my father was a Navy chaplain, and so I was a Navy brat, so I've been kind of like all over the place. But I grew up most of my life in Southern California, and like I said, I played Little League and played all the other sports as we grew up. I had 3 brothers. We all played college football, and I was able to grow up in a community. Its name is Oceanside. There's an Oceanside, New York, I know, but this is Oceanside, California, in Southern California. It's right above San Diego, and that's really where I grew up and played all of my sports. And my father and my mother really encouraged me and my brothers to play all the sports. We played everything. We played track, we played football, we played basketball, as well as baseball. So I really relate to your team here, because one year I made it all the way to junior college, and I got a scholarship to play at UCLA. To play my final 2 years of college. So I played 3 years of college baseball. And we were lucky enough to beat USC that year and get us into the College World Series. This was 1969. And following that, we lost, by the way, we lost the first 2 games in Omaha, and so we were out of the tournament. But after that, I was asked to play up in Alaska. Alaska, as you know, has a summer league. And at that time, there was only 2 Alaska teams, which was Anchorage and Fairbanks. And we played that midnight sun game that I know a lot of people have heard about. So I played summer ball that way, and it was just a tremendous opportunity for me. We went to the NBC tournament in Wichita, Kansas, and won that tournament. And so I played probably about 120 games in 1969, and that was the year before I signed my contract in January with the Cleveland Indians, and that's what started my career. So this youth sports program and for young college players can be a stepping stone for wherever you're going. Even if you don't make it to the pros or into the big leagues, it'll mean a lot for your character. So keep up the good work. My experiences take me to I know you guys know a lot about the Yankees. I'm really impressed about the Yankee team this year. You know, they've kind of had a tremendous turnover in youth. They've got a very big future ahead of them with a lot of young guys that are playing great. And when I played with the Yankees, I came to the Yankees from the Cleveland Indians, and I was traded in '74. And when I arrived to the Yankees, I was on a Friday night in Cleveland playing for the Cleveland Indians, and I got traded right after the game. Okay. And I was traded, and the very next morning, I'm in a Yankee uniform in Shea Stadium, okay? So when I came over, and I played in the old stadium as a Cleveland Indian, but they were refurbishing Yankee Stadium, and so we had to play at Shea Stadium. And in those days, it's next to LaGuardia, right? So all the planes used to just fly low in those days. Now they fly really high, you don't even hear it, but when we played, every 5 or 10 minutes, you heard these planes just roaring across, and it was really awful. But the good news is that that was '74. In '75, late in that year, they hired Billy Martin to be our manager, and I got to learn Yankee history around that time because, as you know, Billy was just born to be a Yankee manager, and when Billy took over in '75, at the end of '75, we went into the new stadium after they fixed everything up in '76, and that was just an unbelievable day, opening day in the stadium rebuilt with Billy Martin managing in '76. That was just outstanding. And '76 turned out to be my best year statistically, and of course, it was, I'm known for this home run that I hit that put us into the World Series in '76. It was the first time the Yankees got in like 12 years into the playoffs. So that was just a tremendous year that year, and I don't really have many funny stories like that, but Billy Martin was an interesting guy to play for, and a lot of people know him for his stuff off the field, but you forget that he was probably one of the best managers there ever was. This guy really knew the game, and he really knew how to motivate players. It was just a pleasure to be around him, and I was lucky enough to end up coaching for him after my career was over. I coached for him in '88 as a hitting coach for the Yankees, and that was a great experience also. I'll give you one quick story, a couple stories about the home run I hit. Okay, it's '76, and I hit. A lot of people know about this game, but we played the Kansas City Royals, and in those days it was just the East champions and the West champions playing for a 5-game. Right, there's only 5 games playoff. Now it's like 7, and you got like 3 tiers of playoffs. We only had one playoff, a 5-game. Best out of 5 to go to the World Series. So we're playing the Kansas City Royals, and then I'm up in the 9th inning with a tie game, and I hit this home run, okay? And in those days, they had no security, so all the fans were just all over the field. And I'm running around, and I touch first base and second base, and before you know it, I'm just seeing nothing but a sea of people everywhere. I'm thinking about getting buried or whatever. And so anyway, I only touched 2 bases. So when I got to third base, it was just nothing but fans there. So I took a beeline right to our dugout. I didn't even touch home plate or anything. So I got into the clubhouse, and everybody asked that famous question, did you touch home plate? And I said, there's no way I could have touched home plate. There's nothing but people around. So what I did is I put a jacket on, and I took a couple security guys from New York, and we went back out on the field. And it was just a sea of people everywhere, and they had no idea it was me because I had a jacket on. So we walked up and went up to home plate, and I looked down, and of course home plate was gone. Somebody just put it on. So without any umpires seeing me, I just kind of put my foot there, and nobody saw me do that. I mean, it was people everywhere. So we went back, and and went back in. And the next morning, not only home plate, but the pitcher's mound, the rubber, pitcher rubber, that thing's really nailed in there. That was gone, all the bases, everything. And in fact, they even took patches of grass from the infield. It was a mess. So that was like the highlight of my career, obviously, and something that I'll always remember. Two things that happened there that are really pretty special. I ended up having the baseball that I hit because it didn't go into the stands. It went in between the stands and the fence, and all the security guys were there, all the cops were there. So one of the New York's finest cops brought it back around and gave it to me in the clubhouse. And then even more amazing is the bat. Okay, now think about it. I hit a home run. I don't even know what I did. Obviously I dropped the bat, but my old teammate from Cleveland, Greg Nettles. Okay, Greg Nettles was one of the best third basemen there was, and he has a quick mind. You have to know him, but he's really a quick one-liner. He thinks of everything. I don't know what he was thinking, but he ran out on the field and picked up my bat. Okay, picks it up, takes it back to the dugout. In those days, there was no fence in front of the dugout. It used to be you walk to the dugout and you go down the steps. So everybody's glove and hats were right on top of the step of the dugout, which, as you can imagine, all the fans they were stealing everything. So Greg Nettles took my bat. He had my bat, and he was standing in front of all of our equipment, swinging that bat around and making sure nobody got our equipment. And I have that. I still have that bat. I sold the ball, by the way, but I still have the bat. And but those are really great memories of it. I'll give you one more thing. Reggie Jackson Reggie wasn't on our team that year, but the following year we made two moves that kind of propelled us to World Championship the next 2 years. By the way, we got into the World Series. I think you guys know this. You guys are kind of young. You may not know, but we got swept by the Cincinnati Reds right after that. Okay, 4 straight games, and we were out of it. But we couldn't wait to get back. And the next 2 years, we did get back, and we played the Dodgers 2 years in a row in the World Series, and we became world champions, 77, 78. Well, anyway, after the 76 season, we made two moves that kind of propelled us to champion, take us all the way through to World Championship, and that was acquiring Reggie Jackson in right field and Bucky Dent at shortstop. And those two guys made our team with what we already had, because we already had an all-star team as it was, and we had Nettles, and Willie Randolph was just starting at that time, and Mickey Rivers was in center, Roy White. We had a great team. And so Reggie came with us, and the funniest thing that happened with him is, he hit, this is game 6 of the 77 World Series. He hit like 3 home runs in a row, okay? And yours truly is sitting behind him, okay? So I was always at home plate when he hit those 3 runs. So he hit those 3 home runs. And so when Reggie became a Yankee, he said that, when I become a Yankee, they're going to name a candy bar, named after me. And he said that with the knowledge that he didn't realize it, but the Babe Ruth candy bar was not named after Babe Ruth, but Reggie thought it was. So that's why he made that statement. So it's a funny story. So what they did is, of course, Reggie, after having that 77 World Series and hit those 3 home runs, what did they do? Somebody, I forgot what manufacturer made it, but they made a Reggie bar, chocolate Reggie bar. And so Reggie's official at bats after the World Series, hit those 3 home runs, opening day of 77, about 50 or 60,000 people in the stands, and they all had Reggie bars. Everybody was there. They just gave them away. It was in the stadium. So Wilbur Wood was pitching. I know some of you guys that are my age, you might know who Wilbur Wood was. He was a knuckleball left-hand pitcher, really tremendous, pitched a long time. He's starting for the White Sox, and sure enough, Reggie's very first at bat and the first pitch, knuckleball, home run. This is his first official bat after hitting the 3 home runs in the World Series the year before. So guess what? Everybody in the stands, Reggie bars, all over the field. They're just peppering the outfield with Reggie bars. It took them about 20 minutes to clean up the field. So I heard I should take some questions, and that would be great if I could talk about anything that you've done, because I've done a lot of stuff. I've been a lot of places, and so if there's anything that you want to talk about or hear from me before we run out of time, fire away with any questions if you have any. Yeah, go ahead.
Who's the best hitter you ever coached?
Good, that's a good question. I coached longer I really coached longer than I played, so I did coach a lot of really good hitters. So my answer to that is Ken Griffey Jr. Okay, I was 3 years in Cincinnati, and I had a pleasure of watching him hit. And I played against his dad in the World Series with the Reds, so Ken Griffey Jr. But I've got a long list of some pretty good hitters. You know, Dave Winfield, I coached when I was with the Yankees, Mattingly, Ricky Henderson, you know, there's Mike Piazza. I coached a long time in the majors, so I coached a lot of real good hitters. But I think Griff Jr. was impressed me the most.
Mr. Chambliss, you're very biased. Who hit that first home run in that 6th game of the World Series?
Wow, how about that? There's no way you knew that. Oh, wow.
I was at that game, sir.
Okay. Okay, what he's talking about is the 77 World Series, the day that Reggie hit the 3 home runs. In that game, Bert Hooton was pitching, and we were down 2-0, like in the first or second inning or something. And my first at bat, somebody was on base, and I hit my only World Series home run. Okay, and I hit it to right center field. And so that was me. Thank you so much. I tell that sometimes too, because that was my only World Series home run, so it's like completely forgotten because Reggie hit the 3. Go ahead.
Talk about the Diamond Ball in 1976. What happened to that helmet? That was the guy who tried to take it.
What happened to what?
That was the guy who tried to take that helmet.
Oh, the helmet. Is that was you? Yeah, right. One of the things I regret about that is he's right, there's a picture of a guy reaching out to take this helmet, and I wish I had kept that helmet, but I turned all that equipment in. So yeah, that was pretty funny. Where else? Go ahead.
Which player would you say reminds you the most of you in today's game?
Say it again.
Which current player reminds you the most of you?
Oh man. Which player reminds me of myself? No, I don't watch that. I watch a little the games. I could never sit through a baseball game nowadays. But I do watch the MLB Network, and I watch the highlights. But to sit through 9 innings every day, I just, if I'm not coaching and I know who's there. Well, that's a real good question, because I don't know personalities, but that's a hard one to answer. Who would be like me? I don't even know. That's a tough question to answer. I can't answer that.
Who's your favorite to watch right now?
My favorite to watch now, of course, the Yankees. I mean, the Judge and Stanton and the whole Yankee ball club, the youth, and I'm really impressed with Aaron Boone. Aaron never managed anywhere, and a lot of us, my desire after I finished playing was to manage in the majors. That was what I wanted to do, And so when I come around, you know, you're supposed to get some experience. I managed in the minors, and I did all this stuff. And but Aaron came right out of the booth, out of the radio booth there, and went right in there to manage. So he's done a great job. So to answer your question, I like watching the youth of the Yankees and the enthusiasm that's going on there. They've really got it going.
If you weren't a baseball player today, what would you be doing?
Yeah, and I've thought about that over the years. When I went to UCLA, I was a phys ed major. Sports was like my whole life. So had I not signed and been a pro ball player, I probably would have been coaching. I probably would have been involved in something similar to, and I might have stayed in Oceanside. I really regret not. I don't get to Oceanside that much anymore in California, but I probably would have been a coach in some respect. It would have been related to sports, because I loved all sports.
Was the bat that you hit the home run with a borrowed bat?
With a what bat?
Did you borrow it? Did you borrow the bat? From another player?
Oh no, that was Bucky Dent's home run. I think that's what you're thinking about, right? Bucky Dent hit a home run in Boston. If you guys don't know that, so in '78. Now we're in 1978. This is the second year that we won the championship, and the Boston Red Sox had just an unbelievable season. They were ahead of the Yankees by like 14 games in July, and we had a tremendous summer. And part of that summer is we went to Boston and played them like eight days in a week, and we won every game or something. It was a Boston Massacre. And so anyway, what happened is both teams ended up with the same record, 99 and 62. 963, I think. 99-63 was our record at the end of the season. So we had to play one playoff game against Boston Red Sox. And yours truly hit a single, and Roy White was on base. I was at second base, and Bucky Dent comes up, and we're down by 2 runs or something. He hits a 3-run homer. And what she's referring to with the bat is that he during Bucky Dent's at bat, he broke his bat and on a foul ball. So Mickey Rivers came over there and pulled out one of his bats, and he gave it to him. And sure enough, a couple pitches later, he hits a 3-run homer. That put us ahead in that game, and we won that playoff game. That put us into the playoffs, and we ended up winning the World Series in '78. So that's what she's talking about, a borrowed bat. The bat I used was mine. I had it.
Chris, what is your opinion of the shifts today, the typical, like back in your day, it was a blue towel shifts. I saw Mickey Rivers at the stadium about 3 weeks ago, and he says they're paid to hit the way they got to hit. In other words, go the other way. You would have done that. Even Nettles would have done it. I don't get that whole. Unbelievable.
Yeah. The game has changed a little bit, and how do I explain it? Statistics run kind of like really run the game now. So a youth is told to, instead of playing game by game, they kind of go to you and say, listen, when you're going to play 80 games, and in those 80 games, we expect you to have certain numbers, okay? Home runs, RBIs, we expect you to have those numbers. We don't care how you get them. We just, make sure you get them. So, and we want it to be power numbers, and so everybody's swinging for power, and there's nothing wrong with that, except that if you don't know how to hit first, you got to learn how to hit first. And what do I mean when I say that? Learning how to hit means that you can be consistently making hard contact with the baseball all the time. Striking out was like And I use Greg Nettles as a really good example. Greg Nettles hit like 380, I forgot how many home runs. He hit over 300 home runs. He was a power hitter, very much like the Judge guys today. He could turn a fastball around like anybody. I looked through Greg's statistics, and I don't think he ever had 100 strikeouts in the season. One more minute? Okay. And so yeah, I gotta go. So anyway, this shift business is, all anybody cares about is launch angle and power. And no matter who, every hitter is doing the same thing. And so strikeouts are accepted. And that's really unfortunate because hitters aren't learning how to hit. And when I grew up, you had to learn how to hit before you learn how to hit for power. Because when you combine both of those things, you start looking at, and most recently, hitters like Albert Pujols and those guys hit for power and for average at the same time, and because it can be done. But it takes work, and you got to learn how to do the right things first before you start learning how to pull. And so when you see a guy that's a second baseman and he's a singles hitter and they got the shift on with him, there's something wrong with that. That doesn't match in the game with me. So anyway, my pleasure being here, and I hope you guys continue success with your ball club, and I know you're just getting your season started. So baseball, you have a lot of fun and enjoy yourself. Thanks for having me.